just gone. No, my signal's not just gone. Anyway, I'm just having a sneaky fag out of the window. So you're going to have to forgive me. Well, you don't have to forgive me. Elijah is currently asleep and Shiloh is currently asleep, but they didn't go to sleep at the same time, which is really annoying. So Elijah has actually already been asleep for the last hour and Shiloh has only just gone to sleep. So I might get cut out as Elijah wakes up and trying to keep him from jumping on Shiloh. So I'm just having a sneaky. I'm getting through a messenger from a mum at the moment, and there are many cries for help coming in, and have done since a long time really, about social services. And I've always tended to be somebody that people come and talk to about social, because I've had experience with social in terms of like since my own childhood. So I tend to have a little bit of a different attitude to people who are under social services. I have to watch what I call bearded judgmental mode. Shabby bums walking down the road with their buggies. Fags in their hands. Kids running around, but you know what? The kids are clean. Their kids are good. You know, yes, these are the sort of mums that society sees as living off benefits and social housing and having children. We live in a society here in the UK and worldwide that has been colonising for years and years. Probably about 400 years. And 75 years ago, we had what was called a world war. And these wars have continued. And all of these wars are over Connolly, who is the leader of a particular set of people and how these people are going to live. So here in the UK at the moment, we've got 4 people. I haven't checked up with to date. I haven't seen anything to date. I haven't had time to. I'm literally trying to degunk things and clear out what is old and what is new. I brought a car yesterday and I'm in dissonance about it because I left myself really short for the rest of the month. But if I don't have a car for next month and I only get paid once a month, it's really difficult to move forward when you live in such a structured budget, and especially when you're doing something like I'm doing. So this weekend is Pride weekend. As people know, these are the people who are pretty much running and backing our country. The LGBT has millions and millions of pounds to pull off performances like they're going to pull off this weekend. What concerns me is that, look, I'm not a prude. I'm far from a prude. You're talking to somebody who's fucked old fat men for money. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I'm far from a prude, and I'm a single mother. I've got 6 children. Had, you know, seven. You know, brought 7 souls into the world. And I'm certainly not a prude. And I'm comfortable to talk about pretty much most things, you know, but our education system, so the Department of Education is what funds our children's social services. That's where the money comes from. Adult social services is paid for by your council tax, as are the fire brigade, as are the police service, get a little bit of dual funding, but not necessarily. Now, I've been watching Ants today, and it's quite interesting that I've been watching Ants because now the Queen is realising that she's been set up. And now they're telling all the people to calmly, and she's telling everybody to not panic. Now, he's now saying every ant for himself. So, look, we all live in fight and flight all the time. We have an amygdala at the back. It's what conspiracy theories call the lizard brain. And the royals and Parliament and all of these people have what's called an encrusted encased abnadella, and also a crusted and encased what people know to be the third eye. That's why I have loads of name's gone right from my head. What are they called again? Pine cones. It's not summer now, it's about winter now, but I still have pine cones. And the reason that I have pine cones is to remind me of my pineal gland. And part of that is why they immunise children. The immunisation completely severs you from the middle and from your right and left brain. So we as humans can live right and left brain, hence why people march right, left, left. But if you ever notice, in order to get that level of coordination and that level of every single person marching at the same time, at the same point. And I come from a band camp world, so at 15 I was part of New Surrey Rangers, and I was a colour guard for New Surrey Rangers, and we used to have to march. So, and also I was a majorette, so everything was marching. Also, I'm an ex-army wife, I've watched a lot of men march, and the reason that I say halt the adoption drive is because I'm taking the piss out of, I'm not taking the piss, I am saying halt. I am literally saying left, which is coming into your, what's the left? Would you say left was Conservative or left was Labour? Because when I go to these left and right things, these leftisms and these right things, and these people who are anti-something and these people who are pro-something, when I actually step back and I look at them all, they actually seem to be batting for the different team to what they say that they're actually batting for. So this left and right thing, in order to get 100 men or 100 women to all co-symbiotically left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, takes for the bandmaster or the general, I'm going somewhere with this, guys, the general, it's coming up to July Awareness Month, and the general is the person who controls and leads the authorities, remember? So, and it's the depart. In fact, I've got a really cool leaflet here that's absolutely brilliant, right? And this was done by Portsmouth. Is when they were all here for the Royals and that. So this was done by the Ministry of Defence Police. The MOD police is a very different thing to our normal civilian police. When I left the army world, I didn't realise such difference between what was considered the army world and the army disciplines to the civilian structures. And sometimes I talk about people as rhinos and people as lazy cows, and people get offended. And the reason that I use these terminologies is somebody that I know wrote a book called Rhinoceros Success, and he talks about people who just muddle around and are lazy cows, and people who are very focused and stuff like that. Now, what's interesting on ants today is somebody was trying to heed one of the workers to a warning that if he continues to drill, that it's going to cause an explosion, it's going to kill everybody. But he had to follow orders. Now, the thing with us human beings is we only do what somebody else seems to tell us to do, or depending how much somebody is willing to pay us to do something. Other than that, we don't tend to do things unless we feel like doing it, or we have a general obligation or responsibility to do so. Not every mother or father wants to get up during the night and nurse to their crying baby that needs a nappy or a feed or a change. Sometimes it feels like an obligation. Sometimes it is not a joy. Sometimes it is not a pleasure. And sometimes even being a mother brings great pain and great anxiety and great stress and great failures or sense of failure that we society can't talk about, because everybody has to be perfect in everybody's image, and everybody has to be something or grow up to be something. And I have a real issue with the education system teaching children to grow up to be something. And I'm going through this chronic fucking labour experience at the moment, and I can feel it. I can feel me physically going through it. I can feel the rise coming up in here into my throat. I can feel my throat. But also I do have EDS. So I tend to have these different things that go on in my body that drive me up the wall every day anyway. And I'm actually slouching, if people can't actually see, in order to keep myself, oh, well, the camera's just rotated, just to keep myself upright on here to you today. And little silly things like, you know, this crazy little cup, in order to drink my barley cup. The little things that people don't see. I've had to move all my knives up there so I can't show you, which is a right pain in the ass, because not only do I have a disability with EDS, I'm also disabled because I'm only 5'2". And being 5'2" has disabled me more than my EDS condition and more than being Asperger's in my entire life. And as a 5'2" person, it's a little bit difficult to get up there at the moment. And the same thing, because, you know, I use these lives and do a bit of thing, is that, you know, sometimes we've got to reach up to get our own faith. And I got a little chef here just to remind me of sometimes things spoil the broth, and sometimes in order to bake a really lovely cake we have to have certain ingredients. And I said when I started this in 2010 that I wanted to keep my integrity intact, and that as a mother I had made sacrifices. So don't forget, I've done it 3 times around. So as a mother I had made sacrifices for my children and for my family and for my husband, partner with Stephen, that had cost me greatly in terms of spiritually, physically, emotionally, who I was as an individual, and I'd also crossed lines that had taken me to quite some depth places. I mean, prime example, I think it was 2004. Now, this isn't on record, it's not even stuff that I've ever talked about. It's stuff that will be in the book, though, and the stuff that, you know, I don't mind sharing. I was working for Radio 1 Big Weekend, and it was going to be in Preston, and we were doing the fringe gigs and all that sort of stuff. And I used to hang around with a friend who plays the guitar, and, you know, we were weed smokers at the time, weekends, stuff like that, when we didn't have our kids and things like that. So the kids would be at their dad's, and at weekends that, you know, I was festivals and, you know, firesides around sandy places or in woodlands, things like that. So we had Radio 1 Big Weekend, and I'd gone along to sort of a house party that was going on while the festival was still going on, where we were sort of sneaking off, you know, some of the artists that didn't really want to be within the crowd and just wanted to go and sit and chill and watch the boxing. And somebody passed me a pill, and I shot it across the fucking room. Like, seriously, my mindset towards pills, any form of drugs, is to remove it completely away from me. Crack, smack, heroin, any of that stuff. I can't even be around somebody using it. I've been in squats at situations where somebody's gone. I can, as soon as I see the stuff that's coming out, I just sort of say, excuse me, do you mind if I just leave the room? What you choose to do is up to you. I'm around if there's any problems later on, sort of thing, or I'm not around if there's any problems. If you choose to go there and do that, then I am not responsible for the consequences of your actions, and I'm out. Yeah, very, 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 very solid, because it was the era of Leah Betts, and because I spoke on a video about my friend Sarah Thompson and her boyfriend who was into drugs, and they tried to get me into drugs when I was about 14. It was actually my mum who saved my ass, because I do think I had started to sort of get to the pressure, and had I gone out that night and my mum not grounded my ass, then potentially I probably would have taken a trip that day. And maybe it might have been a good thing for me, maybe it might not have been a good thing for me. And there is a big political and spiritual and education debate going on at the moment about psychedelic drugs. And they are starting to understand now about how psychedelic drugs are used to take people and enhance them in all forms of drugs. Polarity exists in everything. Now, I've got a father's case going on at the moment, and obviously people talk to me on a different level than per se that they would talk to a social worker. People are more open to show me their flaws and their scars and their tissues, and, you know, even the times now that they're struggling, and whether or not they're struggling prior to the children being taken and prior after. I have seen grown fucking men who have, you know, been sustaining businesses, careers, turned to homeless men on the streets. You know, the family courts are completely combusting people's lives open. But can I just say something? Who the fuck is it that's telling these fathers to give up their businesses and declare that the depression of the family courts is hindering them so severely that they're now signing on? Because you're causing these fathers to actually go into depression. And I've now got a father who, you know, nice house, lovely, lovely, lovely home, lovely family home. They've built a beautiful, beautiful home together. You know, we're not talking about people in council on benefits that can't provide for their own children. We're talking about people who have loved and cared for and a 19-year marriage, you know, and have loved and grown their children, and very clearly from the home it's evident that, you know, the children's bedrooms and the garden and the environment around that child has clearly grown up in this home from cradle to the what should be the grave. But because they've gone through a separation, and I've got two beefs that I'm trying to fathom at the moment. This point with domestic violence. I've met some really beautiful men that I've read paperwork on that makes them a complete evil animal. But they've also told me the same story, and they've put their hands up. So in conversation with this man, I said, what's the worst thing you've ever done to your wife? And he said, I've had my hands around the fucking woman's throat. He said, sometimes I just want her to stop and I just don't know how to shut the fuck up. And I watched a very bleeded man who was admitting to me that in their relationship they both had very solid jealousy. And what's the difficulty with having jealousy? And it's take me and Dean, for example. I'm here right now in a one-bedroom flat thinking about making money, keeping things going. Dean is over in Spain thinking about keeping things going. But that's Dean's journey right now. And I've had my battles with Dean's career and making the decision to marry somebody who is a DJ. So he spends a lot of time, oh fucking hell, he's fit. He spends a lot of time in white or black vest. He's got absolutely beautiful, stunning arms. He's got the hands and arms that you know are gonna, you know, protect you, and a man that I don't necessarily want to go to those levels of our relationship, but they are certainly man's hands. You know, he has people literally practically naked. I sometimes say, are you dancing with the devil tonight, or are you worshipping the Lord? Because I believe that Dean should be coming completely out of the underground music and should be coming into the worships and arts and praise. Now, what you could call them is, there is a name for this, and it's called something church, apostate churches. And a lot of people don't like a lot of this trip, pill, whatever Christian music. But music is something that every single person can relate to. Music is something that is powerful beyond all levels of frequency and dynamics and energy. The level that music goes to can go into somebody's heart and use words that penetrate a feeling and emotion that they just can't explain themselves. And music can make people's feet move and dance and things like that. People can have the most poetic sex just because of some jazz music that's on in the background. But anyway, I'm completely tangenting. I'm taking the opportunity, because obviously Elijah is asleep. There's a lot going on. July for me is Forced Adoption Exposed Awareness Month. The reason that July is that month for me was because of the situation that I was in literally after I'd had the orders for care and placement orders with my children, and I had my mum telling me that my children were adopted, they were gone, there was nothing I can do about it. I had my solicitor telling me that I had no grounds of appeal. I had, my barrister. I had my solicitor, who I think was a cokehead, by the way. My solicitor who wanted to work and save animals, telling me that it was going to cost me so much to understand my paperwork. I had Save the Family telling me that I was being evicted. I had my family and friends blocking and alienating me and refusing to talk to me. and I had my eviction notice, and I went to the courts, and even though the courts didn't understand why this was going on, I had no grounds because it was an interim property and not a stable tenancy. Where I am here in Portsmouth right now in this flat, I have what's called a secure tenancy with the council. People will call this gold dust. To have a secure tenancy is considered absolutely diamond in the UK. People travel from all over the world to get a secure tenancy, because what that basically does is it gives you a lifetime tenancy. It's not the home, it's the tenancy, and you can move that tenancy wherever you want. So I can go on to Home Swapper, and if somebody wants my beautiful 1-bedroom flat, and you know, they want to switch with me, then they can do that. And you could actually do that all the time, just every 6 months, every year, swapping tenancies with people, moving around the country. You can do that. Currently in the EU, you can still use those tenancies within certain areas and certain sectors. My reason is I was born here in Portsmouth, but I wasn't raised here. I haven't lived in Portsmouth like I was born and I've grown up. I came back here every year up until the age of 11 with my granddad, or occasionally with my nan, or my aunts, uncles, sometimes my mum and my dad. And my mum worked in Southampton when I was a bit older, so I used to spend quite a bit of time in Southampton with her when I used to go into work with her. But I have a decision to make, because I have plans to go to Trinidad to be able to get the childcare and things that I need in order to be able to get all the stuff that's written. Dean is currently over in Spain. It's his birthday on the 7th of July, and it's Elijah's birthday on the 17th of July. And ideally, I'd like to go over to Spain the 7th to the 17th, and then maybe head off from there, wherever it is I need to go. And basically, from this point forward, I'm now putting all the preparation into July. The challenge is I have no mind map in front of me, and I find life very easy when I've got a calendar up on the road. I can see exactly where I'm going and what I'm doing, and I have a lot of routine and rituals and regulations and things within my life, and I work very well like that. But that only works when you're the sort of person who has like 5 solid friends, your family, and you are a settler, and you have community and a world that you get up every day to keep going. I'm trying to expand my mind to not here living in the UK, step up Britain, but to push that out to being able to sit down in Italy and have a conversation with a fashion designer about a range of clothes that's going to be designed for the working mum, while then sort of cruising over to Paris to talk about their performance for the choreography for the new ballet school, while then going off to America to deal with all the hip hop things. And you know, do you know, if you get with me, I don't want to be so boxed in, but I don't want to leave my kids behind. And unless I can get this paperwork done and done in a way, and as I've said, it's in that cupboard behind there, and obviously it's starting to build up here, and diaries that don't get done, and things are just not getting done, but they are in my own mind, and they are in certain ways and stuff like that. I can't see the consequences of my actions, just like you can't see the consequences of yours. Unless you tell me, communicate with me, I can't see the consequences of what's going on. Unless you interact with me like angry, pissed off, whatever, I can't see how what I'm doing affects your emotions. Call it an Aspie thing, just call it a normal human perspective. Unless we genuinely communicate with people and talk to people open and honestly, then we can't really meet our needs and wants. And this is a real challenge, because not everybody is taught to communicate in that way. And say like this situation with this father that I've got, what I find with people in courts, and I was trying to explain to him, is one, women get legal aid if they've been in DV, and if you're a working woman, you don't get legal aid like people on benefits. So people on benefits are entitled to legal aid just because they're on benefits. So if you are under social services or on benefits, blah, 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 your contact with your children is paid for because you're on benefits, your court fees are paid for because you're on benefits, and you're entitled to legal aid. But you're only entitled to legal aid up to so many hours worth of work. Now, no actual court case actually can be completed based on that level of hours and work, and That's a real challenge, because it means that every person who's on benefits isn't getting the right legal representation already, but they're not getting the defence. They're getting the we'll do out your paperwork about what they're doing, but they're not paying for the defending. So that means that every parent in that situation is in a challenging situation unless they build themselves up to represent themselves and put themselves in a situation. But then you're going to face lots of persecution, because the judge, the barrister, the solicitors have gone to university for many years to have that name. Hello. How are you doing? Yes, darling. Elijah's just woken up, so I'm just going to... Come and lay down on the sofa while I finish up. Oh, I've got to step over so many freaking toys. I'll sit over here because Shiloh's asleep over there. Oh. So anyway, I'm in a bit of a dark room and I'm breastfeeding mum, as you know. We've got on my back wall, of course. Every now and then I defrag, and the reason that I defrag is it's like a brainwashing, and it gives me an opportunity to have a look at things and go, that doesn't serve me anymore, I don't need that. That will either serve somebody else or that needs to go in the bin. And I dump it, do it, delegate it. And the reason that I do this is because it's like living in a house. My mind is like living in a house where you've got tins of cupboards in from 1997 and you've got to go to the back of the tin and you've got to clear out this stuff because it's just taking up rent space room in your mind. And I've spoken since 2013, so July 2013, I think it was the 19th of July, I managed to get to London, and the first person that I met was a guy called Sam. I do believe that David has spoken to Sam recently, and then obviously I met David and Arjuna and a few other people down at Stolen Children of the UK. I would like for July for that banner, the Stolen Children of the UK, to come back out because, one, yellow jackets, hand it to somebody else to march it through the streets if need be. I have a car. If I have petrol, I can come and get it. Because the children are being stolen. Now, it's like going to Tesco's and putting an item on the conveyor belt and it going through and being ticked. And unfortunately, once you've gone on that conveyor belt, until somebody comes in and goes, oh, don't need that one or that one, it's just a motion that continues to carry on. And until someone comes in and intervenes and goes, whoa, hang on a minute, this is breaching like people's personal rights. This is breaching like you know, people's emotional welfare. Hang on a minute, what you're doing here is actually quite abusive to this family. Or, excuse me, but there's a child here who's really trying to have a voice and you're all telling them and having the attitude that children should be seen and not heard. And I feel that the child is old enough to have their own say. They're clearly telling you what their needs are, and nobody's listening. Until somebody comes in and does that, then that conveyor belt just continues to go on. From what I see with the family court structures, and not forgetting that each case number just represents one family, and the judge, the barristers, the solicitors, the social workers, the advocates, the court-appointed people are not just dealing with one person. So right here, right now, I am one person, but I am not dealing with just one person here. And each one person that is dealing with a number of level of people is paid to get up in the morning, to take on these cases, to read the paperwork, to get 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, if you're lucky, 40 minutes an hour on legal aid. Like, seriously, I mean, if you're lucky to get a full-blown hour with your barrister or solicitor, you're piss-wet lucky on legal aid. The majority of people don't even meet their barrister. The barrister just sort of comes into the room, nods, says hello, maybe sits down with you, you sit back in the room, they go in, you might enter the room, you stay there, sit down, they stand up. You sort of sit at the back of the room, looking around the room, sort of wondering what the fuck is going on. How have I got to this situation? Why am I sitting here so subordinately? I just want to scream and shout and tell everybody that they're a bunch of fucking cunts and what you're doing to my family is completely abusive. If you show any form of fidgetedness, click your pens, tap, take drinks, interject, speak, say anything, especially while the judge is talking or other barrister or anything, if you don't follow the formalities of that room, then you're held in contempt of court.
I'm gonna ask one of these workers to
There are complaints procedures to the family courts. There are complaints procedures overseeing judges. There are complaints procedures overseeing barristers, solicitors, and every agent of the state. They are agents of the state. That's what they are. They are these.
So, how come I haven't seen you around here before?
Oh, I don't get out much. I work over at the palace.
What's that? Those royals really keeping up.
And the ants at the moment, they're all dancing in unison, apart from one who's trying to be a little bit different and break out of the patterns. Now, ultimately, he is the one that saves them all from being drowned, but at the moment, he would be considered a rebel. All the XR team, all the Red X people, we are considered rebels. Rebels with a cause. And that cause, for me, is about bringing awareness. It's not even about bringing awareness, because it's not about bringing awareness. I want to bring it to a complete, absolute stop. I want to bring absolutely every single person who's involved or feels that they should have an involvement over the structures of our country here in the UK, but worldwide, in what should happen to children when parents are not able to meet those children's needs. Oh, Elijah is going to fall off the sofa. I've got to jump up 2 seconds, but his leg's going to come off. 2 seconds.
Crazy? This guy's like a pebble.
Aren't you even gonna defend yourself?
Hey, buddy, get back in place.
You know, what would... I know, he's just going to roll off the sofa. Both of my boys are waking up now, so it's working quite perfectly, actually. You know, what do we as a society do with children? Like, also, can every parent homeschool? Can every parent provide every need for their child? Can we actually, as families, have family, community and businesses? So me and Dean travelling with the children while he's DJing. So say he pulls off this house DJing in Ibiza at Cafe de Mar, then we could have an apartment over in Cafe de Mar. He DJs, you know, when he DJs, and we have family time around that time. That is an achievable goal for us to live in. There's nothing wrong with that lifestyle, but it would create jealousy for other people, because it's like, well, you've got no money, you have money, you've got no money. Money brings jealousy because people can buy things, but money brings competition between people on who's got stuff, and money brings problems in the sense that you can't buy the things that you need, or brings the guilt that you did, or blah 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 blah. But money's not the problem. It's what you're willing to do for that money. And I said integrity and tact because I may struggle and have to go down to food banks at the moment, but I will not shoplift, and nor will I sell my soul to the devil, and nor will I cross lines. Now, there is plenty of people around. Like, I actually asked somebody outside a couple of days ago whether his missus was in, because I wanted to see if I could borrow £1 off her to go and get some milk for the boys until the 18th. And he said, oh, I'm not surprised that, you know, you don't just shove it under the buggy. And it's really easy to do that. If I wanted to shove some milk under my buggy and walk out of a shop, I could do that. But for me, that is the ingredients that goes into having faith that causes for me to not be the person that I am. And I like being somebody that I know I can come into someone's home, and if they happen to drop a £20 note down the back of a unit and it's gone missing and I've been in the house, I love to be the person that, wow, that person is rooting down the back, because no way in their mind would they ever question to think that actually I would have taken that 20. And I would hate to be the person that people think that way around. And I've had to live with that because of being a foster care kid. So at school, if you're the foster care kid, the finger gets pointed at you. My mum was a shoplifter who used to blame me. So to be somebody of integrity who you can trust, whose words and actions match, and that's really difficult to find. And that's where I struggle, because I need my words and my actions to match, but in order to do that I have to be fully in line with my true integrity, and my true intentions, because it takes money and it takes material things and it takes stuff to do. Every adoption agency has millions of pounds to put into banners and promotion and marketing tools and websites and web designers and graphic designers, and no adoption agency exists without a logo. Do you know what I mean? There is no adoption agency if there's no formal paperwork. There is no adoption agency if there isn't a director and board of directors of the company. And there ain't no fucking adoption agency if there ain't a fucking banner to put up on a post to say, hey, come and foster and adopt our kids. It's all marketing. Marketing costs millions of pounds. Crackbook, there are 7 million people here. The chances of my social media ever reaching 7 million people is never going to happen, because the only way that it gets about is if they choose that your videos can go viral. The videos that they allow to go viral are your goofy white bloody gate teeth. Oh darling, yes Rasto, yes honey, sweetie, oh I'm off to suck. So they only really want to share the viral videos that are, cheesy, light entertainment, keeps you distracted, keeps you watching EastEnders, keeps you in drama, keeps you gossiping, keeps you talking about other people, keeps you like, oh yeah, did you see him and stuff. And as long as you're always living like that, then you're never going to have the life of your dreams. And to be somebody that can turn around and say, look, so-and-so isn't here to talk about this right now, so therefore I'm not willing to engage in this conversation, and have people go, who does she think she is? Takes a lot of balls. In fact, it takes more balls to walk away from a conversation than it does to get pulled into talking about someone else. That brings me back to statutory meetings. Whenever a Section 17 is called, social and the MASH team come together to have conversations behind your back to talk about their observations of you. So that means even prior to whatever has happened that has pulled you in on a Section 17, they need to have a look at all of the observations. So they need to have a look at your interactions with the health visitor, your interactions with the doctor, interactions with the school, interactions with the clubs and societies that you're involved in, interactions in the home, interactions with your family, interactions with your friends, interactions with your community, who your children are around, where your children are going. And they sit down and discuss this prior to ever actually meeting the people. And then you're asked to sign a freedom of request. They cannot access your paperwork unless you sign it. I got told, and this is a heeding to a warning to every single parent out there who's just been pulled into the family courts, like literally just been pulled in. You must, if the information is incorrect, if it is, then you're not the sort of parents that I'm here to speak about and deal with. I'm here to the people that, when you stand in the court and they read that very first sentence out and you look at it and go, but that's not true, that's the ones that I'm here to speak to. You have to oppose the threshold. the barristers will immediately tell you that they cannot go in there and defend you without seeing the evidence that that information is incorrect. Rightfully so. Take the accusations that people have said about David Jenkins, and I will say very, 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 very quickly, yes, that the rumours that went around about David Jenkins that were done when he went through a separation with his ex-partner, that everybody had to question or ask whether or not that information was correct. And before I put that information out there for people who aren't aware of this, and I will tell you straight away that I have seen the paperwork, I have spoken to his ex-partner, and I know full well that it has been stated that this information was incorrect, and it was said in malice. So, and I don't need to even say it unless David wants to do it himself. But David was accused of doing something to a child after being told that that child was no longer his. That was a mother who was dealing with the guilt, knowing full well that there was going to be consequences to the fact that there was a child that, and also dealing with an infidelity. Lots of couples and lots of people have to confess things to their partner, and that might even be that they've lost their job and they have to come home and tell their partner that they've been sacked or the company's gone bust, and they don't even know if they're going to get that monthly payment, and he's responsible for making sure that the children are clothed and fed, and mum's got the food and can do the shopping, and the roof is kept going. And not everybody is entitled to benefits if you've been in employment. You have to go through a process to see if you're entitled to benefits, hence why a lot of people claim mental health in order to sustain on the benefits or bridge that gap or get access to legal aid or medical, because it's only by being in that system do you get it free. People who've never come out of that system don't actually understand that you have to pay for things on the other side of the world. So for the people who are getting up every day and going to work like these, then unless you're doing something you love, if you're doing something you love, perfect. I'm talking about the people who obligatory get up to do something purely for a wage to keep a roof over their head and live this rat race life. They're the ones that I'm talking to. So you know, you do have to pay for things. You do have to contribute to your NHS. People who are on benefits, their NHS has a contribution, but when you get to the end of your life and you retire, there isn't going to be enough contribution, so you'll again sustain on basic minimum retirement benefits, where people who go to work are paying into a pension to make sure, or property or investments to make sure that when they get to an age of pension, that you know, their life is sustained, because officially, don't forget, we're only meant to work until, say, 64. So how are you meant to make sure that from 64 until the end of your days, hence why we have so many older people on the streets now, and we have a mass problem with over 75s, over 65s out on the streets, living on the streets, because people live day to day, not thinking about the future, and then oops, upside the head at 65, 64, 70, 65, you retire, you don't have a weekly wage coming in, you haven't thought about, you know, contributing to a pension that's going to pay out every month to make sure that you're sustained until death, you haven't thought about bridging this gap, and then all of a sudden you're having to go on a government benefit where you're shivering in your home, not being able to afford to maintain this home that you've worked your entire life for, and then you're just ending up having to sell your home to go into an old people's, like where I am right now is actually a dumping ground for the old people, and it's just that parents have been dumped in here now, and I'm in a one-bedroom flat because there's a housing crisis here in Portsmouth. It's all Studentville been turned into the students. So what was I saying? So yeah, you know, we are at a time right here, right now in the UK, that we have a time to influence the legislation and the laws and the litigants that goes on, that decides what is going to go on and how we the people live, how we want our children to live. And I think this is really important for mothers and fathers to actually speak out and say, you know, do we actually want to be dropping our children off at, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning at breakfast clubs and leaving them behind an iron-infested gate with a headmaster and disciplinarian and an authority and, you know, not being able to be their own creative person, waiting until they grow up to be what they want to be when they finish with this education system. And do we want to be then dropping them off until 6:30 and putting them straight to bed when we get home? Well, that isn't what I had children for. I know a lot of people have got problems with the fact that I've had more children, but I'm a family woman. I'm a mum. I love being a mum. I love having children. I love watching my children grow up. I love being the person that nurtures and enables them to do what they love and be who they are. I'm looking forward to getting Shiloh down to the skateboard parks and things, and he doesn't even need skateboard parks. I'm looking forward to the day that, you know, Dad is digging in the back garden and building, you know, Elijah Shiloh's personal own little dome in the back gardens for him to get up in the morning and hang around for as much as he likes and choose who he wants to have around him. I know I use analogies like ants and bees and processes, but we are individuals, and I know I'm going through it myself. So if you're still subscribing, you're still listening, you're still part of the story. You know, who knows where I'll be in 2020, July 2020. You know, will I get married in July 2020? Will I not get married in July 2020? Will I marry someone completely different in 2020? Will I get married before, after? Will I ever get married? Will I not get married? Will I have more children? Will I not have more children? I don't know. When I get off this live, Elijah's probably going to have his nappy changed. I know that's going to happen. This house is that chaotic that my painting is sideways right now. So even my paintings need straightening up right now. Folders have now been used as car ramps. So I don't know if you can actually see that, but that is quart folders that have been a perfect ramp for the trucks. And we're dealing with shoes. So Shiloh has got all of the shoes out because I'm trying to put items up to sell because I need to make money. I'm not a charity case. I'm not a run government funded thing. I don't have Nike sponsoring me, or I don't know, Baby Boom or whatever sponsoring me. I could do with sponsorship to do a lot of this because we do some great works. There is a big network of us. We do get trolled by the trust fund kids because people ask for money to get to events that they're not asking for money for because they've lived the trust fund life all their lives. You know, it is the uppers and the middle and the lowers, and there is a war between it, and we are starting to now all come together where the top, middle and bottom will all line up under yellow vests, and it doesn't matter what class, creed, nationality, religion, faith that you are. That sunny yellow vest represents that we are all servants, and we are all subservient beings. The children that have walked past my door today have had a yellow vest on. The cleaner has had a yellow vest on. It is a health and safety vest. It is a protective vest. What do you call it? You call it a safety vest, don't you? You would call it a safety vest. Yeah, so Elijah calls it his safety vest. Is Dean much more influential in the things that are going on than people realise? Yes, of course he is. I probably wouldn't have ended up being in a relationship and having children with somebody that was just a normal builder. That would be impossible for somebody like me. It would be impossible for me to be in a relationship with someone that was under my feet all day at home. That would do my nutting. I have a lot of people who perceive me as single, and ultimately I'm a single mother. Me and Dean are paving our own ways right now, and we talk and we communicate, and we hope to God we get through this chapter as a family. And we have a lot of people cause shits, and a lot of people try to tell us stuff that's going on that isn't, and we get a lot of people who don't believe in this relationship because obviously we met on Downing Street, and David Jenkins is here as well. David Jenkins is also one of those people that when Dean and I got together, told Dean, "You'll be all right with her, mate. She's only in for a one night stand." So it caused a lot of issues in our relationship from day one because he had the perception that I just fucked about with campaigners, and I can actually tell you that's not true. So I am renowned that I just want to be with my husband, one person. That's it. I'm not here to build a whole world with everybody. I'm here to build my world with my family. But right now, we are in a situation where everybody who's going through a very similar situation needs to... We don't need to come together. We don't need to get on. We don't need to be friends. We don't need to be part of each other's families. We don't need to be even liking each other. We don't even have to get on. We don't even have to choose to spend any other time with each other. If happens that through, you know, dealing with similar griefs and same hurts, that relationships forms and people form friendships and things come together, that's great, and that's up to you. But that's your own personal life. I'm here to pull together the soldiers, the army, the fighters, the warriors, the true warriors, the ones that are going to stand up, the ones that have got the balls in the courts to stand up and say, you know, oh yay, oh yay, oh yay, you know, whatever you need to say, and really push forward with their tools, their skills, their knowledge, their understanding, with truth and integrity, and actually form you know, a united alliance of people that are willing to all come together at one meeting, that we will have literally the heads of this governing body. So, you know, the family court. So this is the education system. So that the criminal courts run under the Ministry of Defence. So the criminal courts come under our policing system. The family courts come under the education system. We don't actually have a family system. And that is what we need. We need a family system, because here in the UK, the world pretty much works for the single person. The world is led for individual people, and it tailors for very shallow relationships. We here in the UK don't have the structures in place that build solid foundations for family. We live under a C of E church immediately, so we tolerate divorce straight away. So when you have a tolerance for divorce, and I say tolerance, when you have an acceptance of divorce, that's different. When divorce becomes an option, then you've got a problem. When divorce becomes part of that choice, so I'm going to marry you with the option of divorcing you later, then the fact that we've created that mentality in society, or actually I'm not even going to marry you because it's pointless because we will get divorced later, then we've created a society that doesn't value or respect the family. The family, in my mind, will always be dad and mum. I will never, ever be acceptance, or I can tolerate. Tolerate is okay. I will never be promoting gay or lesbian families. I'm not here to promote it. I'm not here to stand up for it. I'm not here to support it. But I'm not here to alienate it either. I'm not here to say that a couple that want to marry the same sex, that want to have a family, you know, if they have that family, that is completely up to you. And I do have gay friends, and I do have, you know, people who struggle with transgender. And I do help them with what they're going through. And I have been out shopping to find wigs and suitable clothing to help men become women. And I've also helped them come back. You know, so it's not about that judgment. It's about the fact that we can get up in the morning living true to who we are. And if you are somebody that plays music, then you should have the tools to play music. If you're somebody who, you know, can bring dance to the world, therefore you should bring dance to the world. If you are funny and can entertain people, then do that. If you want to make something that's going to make the world a greater place, like even the phone technology, I know you know, we're all harping on about, you know, where G5 is going. It's not about stopping advancement. It's about coming together as a collective society and saying we need to sit and talk about how this is going to come together and how this is going to roll out. And the government do this anyway. If there's going to be any building work, What's the matter, darling?
Your information, the general
Oh, I thought you covered my ears.
are
You know, if the government want to do anything that involves planning permission, it always goes in the paper first. It's just that we, the UK people, are not those people that turn up every month to your local town hall meetings, and we just don't get involved in the same way. And people don't talk about politics and religion, and that's the problem, because politics is one category, religion is another category, and everything is in categories, and not everybody wants to get that, you know, who wants to be a millionaire question on politics, and not everybody wants the one that comes in on sport or films. You know, we're not good all-rounder people, and we should be all-rounded people, and that's the problem. The education system has designed you all to become cellular, one-track people, and at a level that doesn't give you much choice or opportunity. Do you want to work in construction? Do you want to be a hairdresser? Now, these weren't options before. It was, excuse me, it was once you left school, the option was, what did you want to do at college? You had to obtain the basic 5 core GCSEs in order to go to college, to then define what subjects you maybe wanted to advance a bit more in. And then once you get to university, then you can start specialising in this area. Well, laying over there with his welly and his trainer on is a little boy who has got a unique kickflip and can already naturally go up to a skateboard scooter and kickflip, which can take a lot of people a lot of practice and a lot of tutorial. He's one, and he's been doing it for about 3 months. So literally we get to a park, he finds a scooter and he goes straight at it and he jumps. And it's been picked out by an actual skateboarder that is like amazing. I can put him in nursery, where if he wanted to go out in that back garden and stand with a skateboard for 4, 5, 6 hours, he wouldn't be allowed to. I want to be able to give him the opportunity that if he wants to stand out in the back garden and keep kicking his skateboard for 3, 4 hours, that he can do that. And if after that he wants to get his welly boots on and he wants to go down to the river and he wants to go swimming, he can do that too. And if he just wants to go and play in the sand with his cars and trucks for a few hours, he can do that too. We can cover numeracy, maths, English, science through doing those, because schools will only give my children the opportunity of a few visits to a museum maybe. There might be something local going on at the local church. I can take them to these things anyway. You know, especially with having a car, and especially as I've got, you know, if I'm, rather than putting the money that I make into paying for water on a monthly, yearly basis, or for my electricity in my house, or the council tax because I'm settled, then I can put that money into spending the afternoon you know, a park, or going down to the skateboard park, or travelling around the UK to every skateboard park, or even travelling him around the world to every skateboard park and hanging around at museums or art galleries and people that we want to spend our time with. And if he ever actually wants to do anything with his life where he needs to be competent, he can make that choice then. He can pay for the exam to do that, and I haven't got a problem with that. And that's sort of what I'm struggling and toying with. I've got the car set outside. My house is a bit petite, so I'm going to have to straighten up before Liam gets home. I am one of them women that has always straightened up before husbands have been home. And it's really annoying because then they think it's like that all the time, and it's not. And then I hate being caught when it's not. And then I live constantly in high anxiety that someone might knock on the door at the times when it is just, you know, pictures hanging off the wall time. So yeah, so anyway, I'm on Backstage, a few other things. There's a couple of things that have come up. They wanted someone, right, who's got near greying hair, which I certainly do have. I would be perfect for it. And it's for a product that is natural hair product, but it pays £3,000. So I'm going to start applying for all these little things and putting myself forward. So I need to get a family photo shoot, and why not? You know, there's also they're paying £3,000 for a family over in Isle of Wight to just do a photo shoot for a Haven holiday advert. And I don't mind doing these sort of things, because say I went over to Isle of Wight for 2 days to do some filming for £3,000, that £3,000 could go and send us off to Benidorm for 2 months. Do you know what I mean? You know, so yeah, so doing all those sort of things, trying to come up with different ways. Got the shoes going up for sale. Obviously, I do gift away whatever anybody needs, and then I sell whatever anything anybody wants to buy. Clearing out, trying to get focused, and the only way that I can do that is to completely declutter. You can always forever be decluttering, you can, and it can go on for ages, but I'm focused on Sunday. So literally I'm doing a car boot on Sunday. I need to make some money for next week on Sunday to make sure we've got nappies, basics, stuff like that. Obviously there is the food bank.